The Fulton County Jail could cut down on the notorious overcrowding problem. Soon, the jail will no longer be taking in most people charged with misdemeanor crimes. Atlanta News First political reporter Doug Reardon is live tonight outside the jail on Rice Street. So, Doug, could this actually work?
Well, that's the hope, Blair, and a lot of people that we talked to today say, well, they're not sure if it's the whole fix. Any decrease in the population here at this notoriously overcrowded jail facility would be good. It would be helpful, but here is the major problem. Most of the people in there aren't charged with just misdemeanors, and the ones that are often have other charges that would make them ineligible for this policy, like felonies. In an effort to cut down on a bursting jail population, Fulton County Sheriff Pat Labat announced this week that starting July 1st, the jail would no longer be accepting people charged with most misdemeanors. The new policy includes the lowest level misdemeanor charges, not ones linked to domestic violence, sexual assault, or aggravated violent crimes.
This will provide some temporary relief.
Attorney Joshua Schiffer says with the jail under a consent decree for crumbling walls, bed bugs, and dangerous conditions, the less people in there, the better. But keeping misdemeanor offenders out may not solve the whole issue.
The vast majority of people accused of misdemeanors in any state immediately bond out.
Schiffer says for those who don't, they'll instead be moved to other local jails like Atlanta City Detention Center.
Law enforcement is still going to have access to those municipal jails, and I expect many cases that would have been previously brought to Fulton County might be brought to those municipal jails.
And I just find it very coincidental that this is coming at the time, and not only of the consent decree, but also of the World Cup coming into town.
Charles Rambo, a former lieutenant commander at the Fulton County Jail, says with thousands coming to Atlanta from overseas for the soccer tournament, it could also be an effort to cover bases at a notoriously dangerous facility.
I don't think that they would want for someone from a foreign country to come in and experience those type of conditions, particularly to get seriously injured.
Yeah, the other issue, Schiffer and Rambo tell me, is that the sheriff really doesn't have any say over who is charged with what. And so it may not really be up to him how many people face misdemeanors and thus are not here at the jail. We did reach out to Sheriff Labat today, as well as the Solicitor General of Atlanta. We did not hear back. We're outside the Fulton County Jail. Doug Reardon, Atlanta News First.